What's good, fam? It's Mr. Kelly with Good to the Hood, talking about anything and everything that impacts the culture. And today I want to talk about the importance of reading, right? If you're a spiritual person, Bible says my people die for lack of knowledge, right? You can never have too much knowledge. And I think during these times of everybody be on these stay-at-home orders or shelter at home or whatever, how are we utilizing this time to be better people, right? To be the best version of yourself. And I particularly think this is important really for everyone, but I particularly think this is important for the black, brown, and yellow communities. As you know, I mean, obviously, I have an affinity for those communities. I'm a part of those communities. And I think it's important that we start taking some of these things serious because of where we are in America, right? So reading is very important. Now I'm going to just go over 5 books that I'm currently reading. My goal every year is to read 10 books a year. Sometimes that could be a book that I'm reading for the second, third, or fourth time. Sometimes it's a whole brand new book. But my goal is 10 books a year. To be honest with you, I have yet to achieve that goal. I usually every year am about 7 or 8 books completed. But I'm always in the middle of 10 books. Because for me, reading books for me is like watching TV. You know how you channel surf, you might watch this channel for a little while, get tired of that program, commercial comes on, so you click to another one, then you click back to the other one, then you click back around, and you're like, I don't want none of that. So, whatever. For me, it works the same way with books. So I'll read a book, get 1 or 2 chapters in, put a place in it. Maybe I'll pick up another book that same day or the next day. I'll pick up a different book and I'll read and maybe get 1, 2 chapters in on that one, close that, and so on and so forth. So for me, that's what works for me. Now I know a lot of people use the excuse and say they don't like to read, and it takes practice, right? In the sense of for it to be enjoyable, or they'll say, hey, every time I read I get tired. Okay, well put it in your daily routine, and maybe you read 10, 15, 20 minutes before you go to bed. So if you're trying to go to bed at 9:30. Pick up the book at 9 o'clock, 9:15, right? But like anything else, the more you practice, the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more better it gets. But reading is very important. And of course, find what's important to you to read. Now me, I don't read unless I feel like I can benefit something from it. So, I read a lot of autobiographies, a lot of self-help books, leadership books, things like that. I'm not a person that reads, books for fantasy and entertainment in that regard. I feel like if I'm going to take the trouble to read, I got to get something else out of it, and I got to be able to have some type of practical application for my life for it. Now, that's just me. Some people read for an escape. My wife, she reads quite a bit too, but she doesn't nowhere near read the same type of books that I read. But, that's okay because I feel also any book that you read, depending on how you think, mentally, you should be able to extrapolate something from that book that could be applicable to your personal life, your business life, maybe information that you can impart to somebody else, right? So, first book is Charlemagne the God's book, right? Black Privilege. Now, I read this entire book when it first came out. He actually has a second book out that I'm going to probably pick up. This book was on the New York bestsellers list. Charlemagne is actually, when I first started seeing him on the Breakfast Club, I was like, this guy kind of annoys me. And I'm sure plenty of you out there can relate. But this book is actually a pretty good book. And without giving it away for the most part, he says that basically, in a nutshell, summarizing his book, he says that everyone has privilege to some degree. So there's certain things that men can say that women can't. Certain things that women can say that other individuals can't. And it goes by age, it goes by class, it goes obviously by race. And there's certain things, right, that blacks can do, or the black community can do, that are not acceptable for other individuals to do. The most common one, and of course the book goes much deeper than this, but the common one, of course, is white people will say, we can't say the N-word, but black people can. Well, yeah, that's how that works. And so he explains in depth in that. And I'm like, of course you can't say it, you know what I mean? But he's just saying how those things work in everyday life, whether it's in business transactions, in relationships, social. There's always something that kind of benefits you a little bit more than maybe it does the next person. You know, maybe for women it might be typically, right, wrong, or indifferent. Women can probably get out of a speeding ticket easier than a man. That's a form of privilege, right? So that was a good book. I enjoyed the book. I read it once, like I said. I'll probably read it again, but it probably won't be for another year or two. It just kind of depends. But it was a good book. Another book that I am in the middle of reading, and look, here's my proof. There's my bookmark. So I'm about halfway through this book, and it's by individual that I've known, that I've followed for a number of years, and it's Bishop T.D. Jakes, Soar. This is a good book. This is a good book if you are entrepreneurially minded. If you want to have a business, self-employed, that kind of thing. Soar, build your vision from the ground up. This is a good book. Obviously, Bishop T.D. Jakes is a Christian bishop, pastor of the Potter's House in Houston. There's also a Potter's House that's affiliated with that here in Denver, Colorado. So it obviously has some things that are biblically based, which I believe in. But even if you're not Christian or don't follow the Bible or believe in the Bible or whatever, and I'm going to have a whole other video on that, on spirituality, it still has some good, the principles that he laces out are very basic, very fundamental, and very good. So anybody, if you're looking to have a business or maintain your business or whatever dreams in that regard, this is a good book. And I'm halfway through that book. Third book, which is by one of my favorite authors, is Michael Eric Dyson's book, The Black Presidency, Barack Obama, and the Politics of Race in America. This is a good book. Now, I just started this not too long ago. You can see my bookmark there. I'm probably 1/7, 1/8 of the way in. So this is the one I'll actually, before I go to bed tonight, I will probably give this a good 20, 30 minutes worth of my time and read that. Pretty good book thus far, but a great author. Michael Eric Dyson, if you're not familiar with, he is the hip-hop professor. He's a professor at Columbia University, I believe. I saw him one time when he came out here and spoke at one of the universities out here in Colorado. I saw him there. But he's got, I actually have probably read maybe half a dozen of his books, about a good 6 or so. This brother right here, he's got a good, if I had to guess, he's got a good 24 books out. Like, my man just be dropping the books. And they call him the hip-hop professor. He's very grounded, very in tune with the hip-hop community. Knows a lot of hip-hop artists. On YouTube, there's actually a speaking panel where it's him, Nas, and a couple other people. But very, very cool brother. I could probably do, and I might do a whole another video on just him alone, because Brother Dyson is dope. I really like him. So that's my third book that I'm kind of started not too long ago. This book I read completely. It's very small, very thin. It's called Race Matters by Cornel West. Cornel West, also a professor at Princeton University, right? Very smart brother. Him and Michael Eric Dyson, they kind of feud back and forth sometimes, and but both brothers, academia, very active. Brother West is very active in the civil rights movement and equality for our people, and this is a pretty good book. Now, I'm the type of person, when I read books, because like I said, I feel like it has to impart something to my life. I don't know if you can see this on here, but you can see when I read a book, I actually highlight, like I'm still in college, right? So I highlight certain things because a lot of books I will read again, and I want that to stand out to me. Or if I'm preparing for a lecture or a sermon, or even talking to my kids or mentoring, someone, which I have done and do all of that. I want to be able to point to something and be like, oh, this one book, XYZ, XYZ. Plus it helps me retain it. Now I can point it to them real quick instead of being like, oh, where did I put that? I can flip through here, see all the highlighted pieces, and be like, oh, and go right into that, right? So that's the fourth book that I've completely read that, and I probably will read that again. I think I read that last year. I haven't read that in 2020. I think I read that maybe a year ago is when I read that particular book. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about today is this particular book is the only book in this whole series that isn't by a black author, right? It's by a white guy. He has a number of books out. I have 3 of his books. I have read completely 2 of his books. This book right here, I've actually read 2 or 3 times. I bought it for a couple people, and it's called Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. And I am halfway through, or 3/4 of the way through, on my 3rd or 4th reading. This is a book that I know a lot of pastors read once a year. I'm not quite at that point, but I definitely have read this, like I said, 3 or 4 times, but over the course of maybe 6 years. Highlighted like crazy. And Wild at Heart, it's discovering the secret of a man's soul. So I encourage every man, black, white, or indifferent, to read this book. Specifically if you're married or you plan on getting married. It's definitely a book that helps considerably with that. It's a white guy out of Colorado Springs, and his wife, she actually writes a book as well that actually pairs with this, so couples can read this book. So this will be what the husband reads, and then there's a book called I think it's called Captivating, something like that. Captivating Heart or Captivating, something like that. But it's written by his wife, and I actually have read that book. My wife read that book as well, but I've only read that once. But it's a good book. Kind of brings a lot of clarity as far as your purpose, kind of what you should do as a man, how we view that. It's a good book. So those are the 5 books that I would suggest that would probably be good reading during this whole pandemic ordeal. Although you should read even if you're not stuck in your house, because it's so easy to just be stuck in your house and just play video games and just be on social media, right? I mean, I'm on social media, as some of you may know. If you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, Good Day to the Hood has a digital footprint on, a lot of platforms. We even have, we just started even a TikTok, which we really don't do anything with, but TikTok's hot right now. But do some, read some books, elevate your mind, because the cool thing about it is each one of those books sure has a specific subject that it deals with. It has specific subject matter that it deals with. But when you start opening other avenues and pathways in your mind, it starts to open up other areas that may not be pertaining to that subject, but broaden other subjects, right? So it's just important to read. And in order for you to be the best version of yourself, too many people feel like they graduate high school and that's all the education they need. And that's just nonsense. So I'll probably do another one periodically with another 5 books. I mean, I got a lot of books back here. I'm very much a person that likes to read books. If I'm going to read, I like to read the books like the old-fashioned way with, the paper and turn the page and put the bookmark in and pull out the highlighter and get a pen and write in the margins and that kind of thing. I have a couple books on my Amazon Kindle. Yeah, you can highlight on that as well and whatever. But I don't know, I just, a little bit old school. But however you got to read. But know that really reading something and not just reading a bunch of memes, not just reading a couple articles, not just like that's not the same. And reading not only makes you smarter, it also helps with keeping you alert. So as you get old, you're not going to be one of those old people that just doesn't have their wits about them. Like you can't just sit in front of TV for 60, 70, 80 years and not think that that's not going to have some type of repercussions on your mental and your psyche. So anyway, enough of that. Get your read on. Not all people that read are rich, but all rich people read. So if that's the motivation, roll with that. Anyway, this is Mistah Kelly with Good to the Hood. And until next time, fam, peace.